Hello gang, in this video we're going to go through how to use the Wolfram Notebook from the Wolfram Cloud to actually do some simple calculations. So actually allow you to save your results as opposed to those that you might do by just using simple Wolfram Alpha. So the first thing we do is we go to the Wolfram Cloud site at wolframcloud.com and sign in to your account. If you don't have an account, make sure you sign up for one so they can use this capability. So we start by, after signing in, you should see that you've got a window that looks like this with two panes. On the left side we have Wolfram Cloud with two options, New Notebook or My Files. On the right side we have some links to some training videos that actually might be useful as you learn how to use the Wolfram Notebook. But I'm going to go ahead and close out that pane on the right side. The My Files goes directly to your cloud, which allows you to store and save particular notebooks that you can access later on from the cloud. And you can actually create folders that would allow you to organize it just as you might organize your desktop or any other kind of file storage area. So, but we're going to go ahead, we're going to create a new notebook. Alright, so we're going to click on New Notebook, and this is what comes up, this blank page that you see here in this notebook. And again, you'll see a frame on the right. You can actually, if you click on Cloud Files, you'll actually see the structure of your cloud-based storage system. Again, I'm just going to click on this to remove this pane to give us a little bit more working space. So here's the problem that we're looking at. This is one that was discussed in the video on the second law, and how we deal with a situation where we're heating a substance which has a temperature-dependent heat capacity over a particular temperature range. So this is how we're going to do it. So I'm going to go through the process of basic entering of structures and equations in the Wolfram Notebook. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually, you'll notice down here we've got this little horizontal line with the plus sign on it. This is where we're actually set to begin to enter something. If you click on the plus sign here, you'll see you have a bunch of options that allows you to enter different styles and different ways to input things. I'm actually going to use my cursor keys and the up arrow to scroll up to the top, very top, because what I want to do is enter a title. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plus, and I'm going to go other styles of text. I'm going to do title, all right, and I'm just going to give it a title. And you'll see that there are a whole bunch of formatting options in the Wolfram Notebook that allow you to change the font size and the colors and all of that, and the font itself. So I'm just going to call this the Entropy of chloroform heating. Call it anything you want. I'm going to actually make this entropy change because it's a change in entropy of chloroform heating. And so there's my title. I can also enter text, and so I'm going to actually scroll down here using my down arrow to move down here. If I want to enter just basic text, and this is useful if you're setting up this notebook so it's something that you can read or that you're going to send to somebody else that they can read. And so to do text, you'll notice that plain text is an option, Alt 7. Also note that, for example, the title that it did above, there's a shortcut key of Alt 1. But I'm going to go back to just do plain text, Alt 7 here, and I'm going to say I'm going to enter the heat capacity equation. All right, so I have entered that. So that's just simple text. Now, when I want to go to a new cell, again, I'm going to hit, if I hit return, it's not going to enter a new cell. You see these little brackets over here on the side, that indicates cells, what are called cells in the notebook. If I just hit my enter key, you'll notice it's just expanding the cell. So I could continue to type text at that point. But I don't want to do that right now. I want to enter my equation. So I'm going to hit my down arrow, And so when I'm ready, you'll see when I have a new cell, I'm going to have this little plus sign here. And in this case, I'm going to enter an equation. Now, in the Wolfram language and the formatting, the default is entry. The entering of an expression or some kind of numerical value, a mathematical expression, a function, something of that nature. So I don't have to actually choose my format here because the default is entry. So I'm just going to go CP equals, and I'm just looking at our equation up here, 91.74 plus 0.75. I'm going to hit a space sign just to separate this out so that Wolfram Alpha understands, and I'm multiplying t by 0.75. And then to enter this in Wolfram Alpha, you have to enter Shift Enter, right? Not just the Enter key, but Shift Enter in order to do that. And you'll see right now what's going on. It says black, indicating that things are a little slow for some reason or another. This should be pretty quick, but the black indicates that it's working on something. Okay, so now I've got my result here. This shows an input and an output, so it shows that it's got my definition of CP. You notice I have not used units in this case. Wolfram can understand units, but to reduce the complication, since this is our first effort to do this, I have decided not to use units. As long as we're careful to make sure everything's entered in SI units, this will work out fine and give us an answer in the units that we expect. Okay, so I'm ready to enter now the temperatures. All right, now the temperatures are given in Celsius, so one of the things I need to do is enter those temperatures in kelvins. So again, I'm going to go down. It's already primed for me to enter something. Here's my next line. It's ready for me to enter, so I'm just going to start typing, and I'm going to call T1 is equal to 20 for 20 degrees Celsius, plus, to convert to kelvins, to 73.15, all right? And now I'm going to hit my Shift Enter again. Now, it would be possible for me to go ahead and enter the second temperature at the same time, but I'm going to keep these in separate cells, so I'm just going to hit Shift Enter, and we're going to be good to go. And now I'm going to enter T2. All right, we're set here, so I'm going to enter T2 equals, and do the same thing. All right, so I get the value of 310 for T2. All right, so now I've entered my two temperatures. Now the question is, of course, how do I evaluate the change in entropy? And we know from our discussion in the video, the basic theory is in order to calculate delta S, we need to do an integration. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And so I'm going to enter delta S, and I can use delta in this case. The shorthand way of doing this is to hit the escape key. All right, and then I'm going to hit Shift D, so I've got a capital D, and you actually see if I click on that, I've got delta, and I'm going to type S, so delta S equals. All right, so what's the equation? Well, we need to integrate, and so what I'm going to do is just simply type integrate. All right, and then I'm going to integrate. What am I integrating? Well, again, going back to the basic equations, it's Cp, all right, the heat capacity, divided by the temperature. Okay, so that's what I'm integrating. I'm integrating with respect to what? Well, I'm integrating with respect to temperature, that's my variable. And I'm integrating from T1, oops, so there's a comma. Now I'm integrating from T1 to T2. All right, and you notice that just a little bit about the syntax here. Integrate, all Wolfram functions start with a capital I. Now if you're doing Wolfram Alpha, there's something called freeform, which we'll talk a little bit about later on, that it allows you more of an English language kind of entry of things. But this is basic functionality. So it's integrate, that's a square bracket, and that's important. And then to determine what I'm integrating with respect to, which is t, from t1 to t2, that's enclosed in these little curly brackets or braces. So that make sure that you follow the syntax properly in order to do it right. And then I have to close it out with a square bracket. Alright, so now I'm ready for all of this, and now I hit again Shift Enter to get my result. So there we have it. Here's my entropy change. Now what are the units? Because I've used SI units for throughout, because my heat capacity is in joules per Kelvin per mole, because my temperatures are in kelvins, the units will be, and let's just type this out, the units of the result are joules per Kelvin mole. And there I have it. So that's a simple way to do a simple calculation in the Wolfram Cloud. Now, one thing to note here is that as we go through this process, at no point did I change to give this my file a name. And usually I want to do that up front, but Wolfram is actually saving this throughout. You see that little bars down there scrolling across. It is actually saving the file. And so what I'm going to do here is just give it a name, and it's going to save it into the home directory. So we're just going to call this chloroform entropy. Okay, and do that. So hit the little check box here to save it. And we're finished. So now I have this. It will be in the cloud that I can pull it up at any point. So I certainly encourage you to explore more. We'll be doing more here, and I'll show you how to do more things later on. But go ahead and play around with it. Use the videos, learn from that, learn how to set these things up. In the meantime, have fun.